Rapport is the most important thing in any conversion, in any negotiation, in any sales, in any relationship, right? Hey guys, welcome back to our new video, which is completely about what's important and what's really important and what's going on right now. We're talking about business digitalization and business in the post-pandemic world. It's super important to talk about this. This is Terence, and as always, Anik. So this is a little bit of a different video. Normally I'm in Melbourne and today I'm in Sydney, so we thought we'd do a video together.
Yeah.
What we're talking about is business digitalization and particularly business in the post-pandemic world. It's a very important topic to talk about because I've been getting a lot of calls and a lot of people talking to me about what's going to happen, what's the next step in business. So, we're talking about a step that should have been taken a while ago, but it was rejected by people in the contentment of what they had. The thing that we always heard from people was, if it ain't broken, why fix it? And I think that's not a great mentality to have, especially in time, because you're eventually going to run into problems like this pandemic. So many people suffered because they weren't ready for this, and they weren't completely online. Their business model wasn't made to function online. And all of these things were very quote unquote professional the way they function. You'd walk into their office and you'd greet by person, all this stuff. But all that is about to change. The post-pandemic world is going to be way more remote because, as you know, people already starting to enjoy working from home. People are, what's going to be the bigger change is how the customer behavior will change, and that's really important to focus on as well, and as to how we're going to do that. I think. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much covered like the main, reasoning behind it all is, people will never think that they're going to need to really focus on their having the ability to operate and run their business online in a digital, format kind of way. But then again, you find yourself in a time like this, obviously it's kind of dark times in the world at the moment, and everyone's having to really work from home, but not everyone is set up for that kind of way. So with business digitalization, that's essentially what we are doing, is setting up your business in a way where you can work from anywhere you like, and it just gives you that freedom, and I think when you're set to a location, just how normal businesses are currently operating, they're in a set location, it limits you to a lot of things, and going back to it is when you find yourself into a time like this, no one really knows that this was ever going to happen, or maybe there might be something worse down the line that happens. No one really knows. So it's best to sort of set yourself up for that kind of stuff, and really, stupid flies, and really not let times like this stop you.
That's right. It's not let time like this affect your business, but it's really important as to why these changes help you grow as well.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that for a second. So I'm talking about, in a sense, how do you treat your customer and how that conversations happens, right? So, one of the things that I was telling Terence the other day, a few months ago, we weren't on Snapchat and we got onto Snapchat. And, Xero is a business-to-business, B2B business where we service businesses, right? And chances are not many of our customers would be on Snapchat, right? The point of being on Snapchat wasn't the fact that we are on Snapchat because we'll get customers there. It was the fact that we need to be on Snapchat to keep up with technology and to be in that motion of forever progressing. Another thing that happens is the fact that you got to realize how your customers are behaving as well. You need to be where your customer is. So let's say you're on Facebook, which is great, the fact that you're on Facebook, but you need to realize that only 40% of your customers are on Facebook. Rest of them are maybe on Instagram, TikTok, Instagram, or LinkedIn, right? So you got to realize those things, and you need to be at those places. And what also happens is, and now let's talk about this, is a cross between how you communicate with your client and your staff, right? This is really important because what you need to do is, they actually did a study. What you need to do is you need to communicate with your staff like you would with your client, and you need to communicate with your client like you with your staff. and you need to communicate with both of them like you would with your brother, and that's how they need to do. The whole thing needs to work. The whole thing needs to be very informal in a way where the lines are very blurred, and a lot of people don't want those lines to blurred, but you can't actually change that. Those lines are already blurred, so you need to embrace that change. And let me give you an example as to how you would do it, right? So they did a study a while ago as to, and they realized that when people were making cold calls, and when they had known what the person looked like, they had a higher conversion rate. So what happens when let's say if you're talking to a client on Messenger, right? So if you're talking to a client on Messenger, they can see what you look like, and you can see what they look like. Chances are they will be, you will have rapport, and a rapport is the most important thing in any conversion, in any negotiation, in any sales, in any relationship, right? So when you build that rapport, you're able to convert higher, right? So that's important, and you can't do that over emails. The reason you can't do that with emails is because there's a stigma to emails that they need to be formal. Like, how many times have you written me an email in a professional sense?
Oh, of course, yeah. Nobody is really 100% on top of their email. I mean, it's impossible with the amount of emails you'll be getting nowadays from everything. It's just really impossible to stay on top of that stuff. And you can obviously do things like filters. You can set filters in your email that sort of ease that process of funneling through all the unread emails. But even still, it's just the task is too mammoth to really get on top of completely. But yeah, nobody really checks their emails,
No, absolutely. So I've got 19 or 20 email addresses. There's no way I can go through those emails.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you what emails are going to be. Emails are going to be like a digest. Like, they're just going to be whole bunch of advertisement that comes through eventually in emails, and it's just used for user accounts, and that's it. The reason being is people are wanting to move towards a communication based off rapport, and you just can't do that with emails. If you need to sell something, you need to get on the phone, or the equivalent of the phone is the Messenger or WhatsApp, because that's how those things are working. And you got to remember, and Gary Vee has this really brilliant quote that he talks about. He talks about attention is the most important thing. When your people's attention is you want to be where they are, right? You as a business, you need to be. Your content needs to be where. Talking about content, we'll get into that in a second. Your content needs to be positioned where their attention is as well. So it's all about how people are working, right? And if you're still sending emails, I need you to realize that is going to be antiquated post-pandemic. The reason being is you just got to realize, you got to see the trends, what's happening right now, right? So you got to see what the trend is. Right now, people are communicating in masses to each other during this, which is brilliant. It's really beautiful. People are helping each other out. They're creating groups. They're creating all these things. And right now, the way the remote working is working right now, people are talking to each other through Messenger, right? So all these employees are having to add each other on Facebook because they can keep up, right? Because some of them weren't ready to, they didn't have the softwares like Slack and all those other software. So what's happening is, what I'm saying is, what's really important is you need to understand how your communication will change. You need to build rapport. And in advantage to that, all those things, in order to build remote, they will need to be remote enabled, in a sense where you can't be doing that with a server. You can't have a server. You can't. Your files need to be drive driven, and the benefit of the files of being drive driven, as in you're on the cloud driven, what will happen is your staff is sitting at home, because a lot more people would want to work from home, and I'm calling that, and businesses will already know that. It's because, let's say, John from accounting worked in accounting from 16 years, and he went to job at 9 and his job at 9 a.m. and finished at 5 p.m. for 10 years. For the first time, he's realized he can do the same thing, because he can log into Xero at home. Now because he lives in he lives about 40 minutes away from his work. He doesn't waste that 1 hour in the traffic in the morning driving to work. He's gonna be happier. His company is gonna have him be more productive. What is the company gonna do? Have him work from home. It just makes sense. It's a no-brainer. What's going to happen in that sense? Because they're going to be happier, and they would find it easier to communicate with the clients and everyone else through those kind of informal channels. What do you think?
No, I think what you're saying is completely true. As you were saying, cutting that time of travel from work that he'd normally take, he now has that time free to do whatever he wants, whether it's still putting that time towards the business and whatever he needs to do for that, or if it's time for himself, whether he wants to learn something new. But it's just the ability to kind of optimize the workflow, and now he has that freedom, that time. And we all know time is of the essence. Time, it's the only commodity you can't get back,
That's exactly right.
So time is very important nowadays. So if you can find ways to optimize your time and optimize your workflow, I think that's just a no-brainer.
Absolutely. And I think we have a webinar coming up soon where we'll get into the real technical as to how that post-pandemic business looks like. But in a nutshell, we're talking about your business needs to be able to not bond to a location, which is really important, and you need to have those. And like, for example, if you run a school, what I would do is let's say if you run a college, what I would encourage all the colleges to do, get one remote student in from America or from Japan or from all this, just one student. And what you would do is, let's say I'm talking about RTO here, right? Because I've had experience with RTO. What an RTO needs to do to put this into practice, get yourself a virtual student from another country. So a person that can never be at the location. So what you do is you literally allocate them a phone, and that's them. In a sense where, so your virtual student lives in Japan, and you would allocate a student body who is actually at your location. You say, hello, this is John from Japan. You're going to hang out with him. In a sense, one of the students will go, hey, I brought my student with me, which is literally he logs in from his Zoom meetings and attends the class with his phone, like with this phone allocation, right? This is just an idea, which obviously you could do it better. So when you're doing face-to-face teaching, he's doing the same face-to-face teaching with the peers, just sitting in Japan in his home.
Yeah.
So
and like the idea sounds crazy. Like you telling me that now, just hearing it he's already told me this, but hearing it for the second time through, it's a crazy concept, because it's like you've got a physical classroom right here with whatever amount of students, and then you're talking about this virtual stuff with allowing people from in Africa, let's say, to have access to these lessons and stuff like that. And that's amazing. The ability to do that is amazing, but because it's so different to what we're doing at the moment, and how education works at the moment, it almost, all you happen to think of is just how it's not going to work. But I think what we need to focus on is shift that perspective and think about how it will work and how it can work. And I think right now we're realizing that, because people are connecting more online now, and realizing that, wow, all the work that we were doing at our workplace is possible to be done at home. And we have all these other resources and all these softwares that we can use to stay in touch, to communicate effectively, and really get the work done. So who's to say that you can't set up a system like that where, a child from Africa, Japan, or wherever it is can tune into a lesson that's happening in Texas or something like that.
That's exactly right. And that's what it needs to be, because why is education so domesticated? And so this is a whole other video we could get into, but by simply, okay, maybe it's not a phone. All you have to do is install a camera, like let's say the middle desk of the class is a camera, as well as a camera and as well as a monitor, so you can the person who's sitting in Japan and can learn in a class in Texas, and let's say they said, hey, show us your work, and that person shows us on his monitor, you could have a virtual desk within the classroom. And the reason maybe it's not like that. What I'm trying to tell you is the fact that how the future of business looks like.
And and I think we as people, as businesses or whatever, need to be able to adapt to the changes. The world is fast changing. Think about a decade ago, it's completely different to how it is now. I'm sure you can agree with me on that. And we need to be able to make sure that we are able to adapt to that kind of stuff and adapt to the changes, because it's happening and there's no stopping it.
That's right. And you need to be future-proof, and that's what's important. Now let's talk about the post-pandemic content. And I wanted you to get into that, because that's your area. And so what that looks like and what the demand of that content is.
Well, I mean, content has always been a funny topic, right? Because people have always had this idea that, quality over quantity, this and that. And though I do agree with that to some extent, I think right now what is more important is relatable content. Most people, back in the days, you'd see a lot more scripted work, so like skits and stuff like that. Whereas now, you'll notice that a lot of the popular trends and a lot of the popular videos or photos that you'll see nowadays is all really heavily like relatable stuff, things that a mass majority of people can relate to, and it's real life stuff. Once again, similar to like building that rapport with your clients and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
People want to be able to
just
connect.
I just want to make a quick note. It's really important to be the informality is important, because the reason of informality refers to people see that as more connected. Where both pre-business, like this business that we've been functioning on for years, was very formal. So that needs to change. Like, think of it this way. So far, the business has been working like this. Yeah, so we're talking about marketing today, and yeah, marketing is great. Come check out our company. We offer brilliant stuff.
Yeah.
You're not even looking at your customers. And right now, when I'm saying I'm making this video, and when I say you're not looking at your customers, like, let's talk about this, right? Right now, I'm making this video, I'm looking at the camera. Imagine like if I was looking there and wasn't talking to you, it just sounds dumb, right?
Just that shift.
That shift.
The direction.
And also the fact that none of this is scripted. I'm talking to the people that I know have had these problems.
Yeah.
And that's why when I used the example of how you could make an RT or a college into this or a classroom into this, I was thinking of a client that has been going through a similar problem. So all of this needs to be informal. So that's why when I go into I'm not sure what I'm talking about, is because none of this is scripted. The problem with business is for years we've been scripting everything. Go back into content. So yeah.
I mean, people used to always have this idea that quality over quantity. This like obviously you've obviously heard this example before. Person A and person B. Person A spends too much time trying to perfect their piece of content. Person B just focuses on the quality, but gets that content out consistently, and ends up reaching more people, getting more results, etc., etc. Person A was too focused on perfecting that one thing that, look, I wouldn't even be surprised if they ended up releasing that piece of content that they were working so hard on for. So you tell me who's in the better position here. Obviously, person B, who's the one who's gotten more stuff out, still a level of quality to it, and it reached more people in the same amount of time. So, quality is obviously important, but don't be too caught up on that stuff. Don't be a perfectionist too much. I say that because I'm like that as well. I've always tried to perfect things, and it's probably not worked in my favor the most. But look, we're always learning and we're always adapting to the changes that are happening in the technology world.
That's right.
So, yeah.
Let's wrap up and I'll summarize, right? So basically, there's a few things that we're talking about here. Is you need to future-proof and predict, not necessarily predict, and you need to know, because everyone knows what's going to happen. So once again, in summary, what's going to happen is business is going to move digital. People would want to work from home. The customer behavior is going to change. So the way you need to speak to your customer is with rapport, and a lot of rapport is really important, and you need to make sure your company's morale is high, staff is feeling good, and you need to change the formality of the way you speak to your customers and clients to an informal, more personalized method where you are speaking to someone like you guys are friends. So that's how you communicate, and that is part of the moving post-pandemic business. Now you can't be born to a location. It's really important to keep in mind you can't be born to a location. No matter who you are, there's a way to be unborn from that location. No matter what kind of business you run, right? And the last one is the demand for content is going to go up. Is you need to create a higher quantity of content, like way higher. It's going to go right up. Just remember, a lot more people will be working from home, and they will have that extra hour in their hands, maybe 2 hours, when they would used to drive to work and back. What are they going to do? They're going to consume content. So I think that'll be it for today. We have a seminar coming up soon, so ask us any questions about that if you do have them. And as always, please like this video and share, because we're talking about something that's very important.
Yeah. So if you have any questions, just jump on our website. We'll have it linked somewhere there, and you'll be able to find out all the information about what we do, and links to how you can get in contact with us. So hope to hear from you, and take it easy.
Thank you so much.